Tech Sideline is presented by First Bank and Trust Company, the bank that puts you first. They can meet your banking and financing needs for personal, agricultural, business, commercial, mortgages, and so much more. Visit firstbank.com to learn more.
For the first time ever, Virginia Tech hosts Cal and Lane Stadium to play some football. Let's preview the Friday night matchup here on episode 446 of the Tech Sideline podcast, which starts right now. We're recording on Thursday, October 23rd, 2025 from the Tech Solutions Studio in the Virginia Tech Corporate Research Center. If you're watching the show on YouTube, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and refer the show to a friend. I'm your host, Riley Klaus, and today I'm joined to my left by lead analyst and columnist Chris Coleman. Across the way, our founder and general manager, Will Stewart. To my right, senior staff writer Andy Bitter, and producing the show behind the scenes, as always, is Mr. Nick Brown. Now, it has been a little bit since we last did a podcast, as Virginia Tech had an open week. Did any of you do anything special or get to really watch all of college football on a Saturday?
I got to watch a lot of football. I watched the first half of the noon games, then went to the gym and watched the second half of the noon games at the gym. Then I went to Sharky's and watched the JMU game, and then I watched football all night. So it was the first time all year been able to do that.
It's probably disappointing to my family. They're like, what are we going to do on this bye week? I'm like, well, I'm going to watch football this week. It's like, it sounds stupid because I cover football for a living, but you don't really get to watch the games on Saturday, especially if it's like smack dab in the middle. You get a 3:30 game or something. It's like, well, you're there early. You miss the noon games. You miss the late games because you're working afterwards. So this was an opportunity to sit around and watch games all day. So I sat in my garage, had 3 TVs going. Nick drove by, didn't even stop. He just kept driving, didn't even stop by and say hi.
Nick doesn't like you.
You could have stopped by, had a beer, watched some games. No. I watched it by myself. That's all right.
Man, if I lived in your neighborhood, I would come over and sit in your garage with you, and I'd get totally tanked.
I mean, that offer stands. Saturday's open this week. We got a Friday game. Saturday's wide open.
Afterwards. So if you don't read Monday Thoughts, first of all, shame on you. You should be a Tech Sideline subscriber. Secondly, I dug up the 2002 Virginia Tech football schedule, and the Hokies had 7 open Saturdays in the 2002 football schedule. So remember, that was back when Tech was, at one point in the season, they were ranked probably top 5.
Oh, they were like 3rd or 4th,
yeah. So, games among other teams matter because you were rooting for higher ranked teams to lose. You were checking to see what was going on in the Big East, not the ACC. So that was just a blast. That was a really...
And Tech had a Sunday game, a Wednesday game, Thursday game.
Another Sunday game.
2 Sunday games, right.
And that was back when the schedule had 2 open weeks in it, so there was also that. So it's very, very cool stuff. So you could be a Tech fan and be a college football fan at the same time. Well, they had one of those preseason games on a Sunday.
Arkansas State looks like
August 25th. And then wasn't the LSU game also on a Sunday?
Yep.
Yeah, early in the year.
Yeah. So a fun open week for everyone as well. The coaching search continues for Virginia Tech. You can get some more updates on that by watching the latest episode of Talking with Teal by clicking up here. But let's dive into what is still going on with Virginia Tech. Since the last podcast, the transfer portal window after Brent Pry was fired has closed, but there was one more name in Christian Ellis who departed from Virginia Tech football.
We'll always remember him for the NC State game.
The story of the season, like this is what they're dealing with this year, is he makes the game-winning play against NC State. Everybody's excited for it. It's like a photo of him really pumped about it and everything, and then it's the last play he ever played for the Hokies. I think somebody pointed, somebody has like their Twitter header, and they're like talking trash to the other team. Like, isn't the guy in your Twitter header in the transfer portal right now? It's like, oh man, that's a bummer if you're a Hokies fan. Like the one moment you get excited about, they really highlight it all on the sidelines and all those videos they do, and never plays again for the team.
Yeah, whatever. It's like, you ever seen the movie Tombstone? And Powers Booth just goes, well, bye.
It's popular tweet, popular gift to use on all this stuff.
I got a chuckle out of a post on the message board during the off weekend, and somebody's like, oh, it's great that they get a week off. They can kind of evaluate their personnel, maybe swap in some new personnel if it makes sense. And somebody else answered, there's nobody left.
There's 20 guys on the injured list.
What you see is what you get.
Yep.
Yeah, with that, now that window is closed, are there any takeaways as a whole to the number of players or maybe any hope that those who didn't could stay in the future?
I think it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah,
Certainly
absolutely.
Could have been worse. I mean, it could have been better. UCLA didn't lose anybody, from what I heard. And they fired their coach the exact same day that Virginia Tech did. So, you know, I think people were expecting it's just mass exodus. And it's like, well, you going to give up that revenue sharing payment for the rest of the semester? Probably not. If you've already redshirted, what are you doing?
Right.
James Jonkum, what are you doing? Right. Like, you're just done with college football at this point. Like, maybe he was just ready to be done. But
I think he went to JUCO and thinks he's going to get the
I don't know. I don't know that he's
you know,
getting another year with that whole thing. So, I think there's a limited number of guys that could have gone to the portal and missed the rest of the season. Some of them, like Quentin Reddish, got hurt. I mean, he had an injured shoulder in this whole thing. So it's not the entire 80, 85, 90, whatever could have been available going in. It's just a handful of guys, and they managed to keep quite a few of them.
And lastly, before we get into the game preview, there was an addition in terms of commitment this week. Tight end Isaiah Pena committed to Virginia Tech, and that just gets a class going.
It's interesting to have a commitment when you don't have a coach. But this is a guy who didn't start playing football until the spring. So in
The spring of what, 2025?
Yeah.
Wow.
24. I think
24.
I thought it was 24.
I thought his first game film was this year.
Okay, maybe, yeah.
But anyway, very late, and only got a handful of offers. And most of these schools, you know, they fill up over the summer, so they don't really have that many spots left in their class. For Virginia Tech does, because Virginia Tech hasn't signed a tight end in 3 years.
It's been a minute.
Yeah. But anyway, he's plays wide receiver in high school. He's 6'6", 225, big athlete with a big frame. So he was a basketball player, and just waited until before he started playing football. So they view him as a very raw prospect, sort of like Calvin Klein. Who started as a true freshman as a tight end for Virginia Tech in 2019.
Not that Calvin Klein, folks.
Right. Despite only playing 1 year of high school football, and despite having never played tight end before. That's how rough Virginia Tech was in terms of receiving targets in 2013. But it's that type of offer.
UNLV offer, Southern Miss offer.
Yeah.
Dan Mullen, Charles Huff confirmed.
I mean,
this is the next head coach right there.
Start the flight tracker.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what he can provide in the future, but now let's talk about the present and this upcoming game between Virginia Tech and Cal on the gridiron. It's a Friday night game, October 24th at 7:30 p.m. right here in Lane Stadium in Blacksburg, Virginia. Virginia Tech is favored at the moment by about 5.5 points. This will be just the second ever meeting between these two schools, and last time it was the 2003 Insight Bowl with Aaron Rodgers.
You shut your mouth.
Cal won that one 52-49, but now it's their first ever matchup as ACC opponents. So Cal is 5-2 this season, coming off of a 21-18 win at home versus UNC. And head coach Justin Wilcox is now almost a decade into this project with Cal.
These days, coaches don't last that long,
right?
But they're looking for their third bowl game in a row. I think that would be the first time they've done that in quite a long time. Then they're off to a good start at 5-2. Now their strength of schedule, I just looked up their strength of schedule on ESPN, and it's ranked 118th. I think Oregon State, Boston College, North Carolina are what, a combined 4-17. Something like that.
They're not good.
They're not good, especially Boston College. They got a good win against Minnesota. Not sure that would happen right now. Basically, they peaked early, and then their last 4 games, they've fallen back down to earth in terms of their performance levels. Got thrashed in both games against decent competition, and barely snuck by North Carolina and Boston College. Now, I'm not sitting here saying Virginia Tech's a good football team at all, not by any stretch, but the 5-2 versus 2-5 record can be a little bit misleading. Virginia Tech's record has been, a lot more difficult.
Misleading, but I mean, Cal. I mean, you got to be doing cartwheels right now to be 5-2. People were talking about this could be possibly one of the worst teams in the ACC. Now, we know how great of a track record the media had at predicting the order of finish before the season. Not great. With Clemson, the almost unanimous pick to win it, and they're not doing great. But I feel like this team has achieved a lot better. Going with the freshman quarterback instead of, I think they had an Ohio State transfer that was competing with him for that job, just giving it straight to the youngster and go, we're just going to go with the growing pains of this thing and ride this thing out. And I think maybe you kind of have to, if that's what you're paying that guy and they want to keep him in future years like that. But It's worked out pretty well for him so far. I mean, 5-2. You look at Justin Wilcox's time there, never won more than 8 games. It's tough to stay at a place that long. And I know Cal's been a really tough situation like that. And it's even a weird situation now where Ron Rivera gets hired in to be the GM. It's like, does he have the hiring and firing authority? Is he the ultimate authority in the program? Is it the football coach? Who knows exactly how that whole structure works. Ideally, Virginia Tech will clarify what it's going to do with its whole GM like that situation. But it hasn't been the easiest situation to win in Berkeley. And, Wilcox has at least provided stability and done a good enough job.
He's never had a winning record in conference play since he's been at Cal in whatever conference they've been in, right?
4-5, 4 different times.
Yeah, exactly. And so if they beat Virginia Tech on Friday, they get to 3-1. Now their schedule toughens up a lot in the second half of the season. And you wouldn't favor them to beat SMU or Louisville or UVA, but you would favor them to beat Stanford. And if they could upset one of those teams, and maybe you could sneak in a winning record in conference play for the first time this year. So this is a big game for them from that standpoint. Also, beating Virginia Tech would get them bowl eligible.
Stanford's scrappy, though.
They are scrappy.
Yeah, you don't go into the farm out there in Palo Alto.
Especially when you've lost 9 straight ACC games.
Florida State is the gift that keeps on giving the podcast season here.
Yeah. Well, Andy, you mentioned their signal caller. They're going with Jiren Kiave Sangapolatele, and as
how much did you
we're
practice
giving you a
that?
raise.
Yeah.
Press the applause button.
And you mentioned Chris as well. With the season, they've had ups and downs early. He himself has been up and down.
Yeah, he has. Nick, you want to put the graphic up there? If you look at his first 3 games on the left, really high completion percentage, great touchdown to interception ratio. Not a big time runner either way, but yeah, he was a very, very efficient quarterback the first 3 games, and then he's hit a wall over the last 4 games. The completion percentage is low, more interceptions and touchdowns, not contributing to the running game very much, taken away from it with the sacks. But he's a freshman, and sometimes those guys get in there early, and there's no film on what an offense is going to do with a new player like that, a new quarterback. And then the film gets out after a few games and you start to see the numbers drop. And you've seen a big drop off in his performances over his last 4. He's a very talented player, kind of an awkward looking player because he's a left-hander with an unorthodox release. It's a snappy release, but it's unorthodox. So he's very unique. I think he's got a lot of arm talent, but in terms of playing quarterback, he's hit the wall over the last month.
Yeah, but I think it's still there.
It is.
3 touchdowns against Oregon State, he threw 4. 3 touchdowns against Minnesota, he threw 4. 2 against BC, had accounted for 2 last week. He ran for 1 as well. I think he's very playmaker type guy, and you'll get your ups and downs with a freshman quarterback like that. But when the talent's there and it does hit on a certain night, he can be a problem. And not like the Virginia Tech defense has just been shutting teams down
some
right
freshman
now.
defensive backs.
I think this style benefits the Hokies, that they're not playing a dual threat quarterback, because they really struggle against guys that run. And everybody does. I mean, it's stop Haynes King. It's tough.
Easier said
He
than
does
done.
everything. I mean, he runs it, he throws it. He's a threat in every facet of the game. I think this might be better suited for a younger Virginia Tech defense, that maybe you don't have to worry about the running aspect as much like that. But I think he's still a very talented guy.
So JKS will be leading the passing attack. Meanwhile, when we switch to the ground game, they haven't exactly gotten it going yet, as they're last in the ACC, but also nationally, they're trying to figure it out on the ground.
They're only averaging 94 yards per game on the ground. They've got a good back, Kendrick Raphael, who's a transfer from NC State. He was a good rotational piece for NC State. He's got a couple of 100-yard games this year for Cal, but I think he's the only player on the team with more than 34 carries. And the guy with 34 carries is only averaging 3.4 yards per carry. So they've struggled with run blocking. They've struggled with getting production out of the quarterback position. They're not deep at tailback at all. And like Andy said, the offenses that have dominated Virginia Tech this year were offenses that were based around the quarterback running the football, basically. If it's been a traditional running attack, the Virginia Tech defense has played pretty well. And this is the type of offense they're going to be facing this week. It's a more traditional attack where the quarterback's not stressing you out on the edge and things like that. So it's a favorable matchup for Virginia Tech's defense from that standpoint. But I mean, like I said, Raphael's a good player. You just got to make sure he doesn't bust one. But it's when you're averaging 94 yards per game on the ground, that's the main thing. Like, make sure they don't bust one, because it's unlikely they're going to be able to drive the length of the field on you with the running game.
With Cal, it's interesting. They lost so many pieces of the offense from last year. I mean, Mendoza's at Indiana tearing it up right now, probably in the Heisman consideration. Jaden Ott went to Oklahoma. Javian Thomas, is that how you pronounce Jivan? How you pronounce his name? He went to UCLA. They lost a lot of pieces in this ground game, so it's maybe not surprising that the running game has struggled so much. Because I mean, Ott was a really good running back, and the backup was pretty good as well. So, I think you're going to have that volatility from year to year when the roster shakes up so much.
And then when we go back to the past game and just look at the other supporting characters, how strong is the cast around the signal caller for Cal?
They don't have playmakers. They're one of the worst teams in the country when it comes to generating yardage down the field. I want to say they're last when it comes to 40-plus yard plays, and near the bottom in 30-plus yard plays. 21 is Jacob DeJesus, 5'7", 170. Really productive slot receiver, 47 catches on the year, 13 against UNC last week. Only averages 8.6 yards per catch, but he's one of those guys who's like your ultimate check down slot. He's always there when you're looking for him. Ironically, he played for UNLV last year and scored the go-ahead touchdown in their bowl game against Cal. And now, if you can't beat him, get him to join, right? So that's what Cal did. They went out and signed him in the offseason. Mason Minnie is their tight end. You would think a guy named Minnie would be the slot receiver rather than tight end, but he might be their best receiver overall. And they got him from the FCS level. This guy only caught 5 passes for Idaho last year, and all of a sudden comes into Cal at a Power 4 school and has 27 catches and 3 touchdowns this year. So he's a good player. You're going to have to account for him. Tron Grizzle is probably their biggest. I guess I pronounced that right. Interesting name, but probably their biggest play threat, 16 yards per catch. But overall, like as a unit, this isn't a group that has stressed defensive backs down the field this year.
To put it in perspective, Virginia Tech, UCLA, Cal, 2 plays of 40-plus yards. Virginia Tech, 3 plays of 40-plus yards.
Right.
So there's just one spot ahead of them.
This
not
is
much that far.
It's probably not going to be the greatest of offensive
Not
games.
going to be an explosive game.
Yeah.
I picked it to be in the 20s for both teams, like an idiot.
But to your point about lack of explosiveness, their 2 leading rushers average 4.3 yards per carry and 3.4 yards per carry. 2 leading receivers average 8.6 yards per reception and 10.6 yards per reception.
Right. And Virginia Tech's second leading receiver, Cam Selden, only averages 6.6 yards per reception.
18 catches.
On 18 catches. Now, he just doesn't break tackles or anything like that, which is weird for a big guy like him. But Virginia Tech is a lot more explosive in the running game.
Yep.
If you look at the yards per carry with Hawkins and Stewart at 5.7 and 7.9, and then obviously drones can run the football. So Virginia Tech has an advantage in the running game. Cal has an advantage in the passing game, is the way I see it.
Yeah. How does the lineup front for Cal seem to compare to other teams so far the Hokies have seen?
They're kind of meh. I mean, when you have this kind of running game, it's probably not performing at a great level. I don't think they're a bad offensive line. I don't think they're a good offensive line. But I think Virginia Tech will have the advantage over them because Virginia Tech's defensive front has played well this year against offenses like this. Like I think if they were a little more versatile in what they could do offensively, then I think that would benefit their offensive line quite a bit.
Now let's switch over to the defensive side of the ball in this game where Cal so far has been somewhat efficient in the pass defense in the ACC so far.
Yeah, they got 3 really good corners, one of which is their nickel corner. Hezekiah Masses, great name, 4 interceptions on the year, but I don't think he's as good as Brent Austin, the other corner. I mean, they've thrown at Masses 43 times this year, so they see something there, and he's given up some big plays. They've only thrown at Austin 20 times this year, and I think but they're still both good players, and then you've got Cam Sidney at nickel who's having a really good year, so They've been excellent at pass defense this year as far as, the opposing quarterback's efficiency ratings and things like that. It is very difficult to be consistent throwing against this team. So if you were looking for this to be the week that Virginia Tech's passing offense got on track, then probably going to be disappointed.
Here comes 35 passes on Friday
Oh,
night.
buddy. Probably 12 at the end of the first quarter.
Chris's day after thoughts will just be like, oh my gosh,
here
what
we
am I
We're doing this
telling you guys?
again.
Well, it's interesting. The Golden Bears are second lowest in the ACC in producing sacks defensively, and so could that allow more time?
In theory, I think they don't stress offensive lines as much as a lot of defenses Virginia Tech has faced, but neither had Georgia Tech's until they faced the Virginia Tech offense, right?
Neither Wake Forest or NC State.
Exactly.
Like, I think the book is out on the Hokies. This offensive line is, thin, and it's not great. And you look at the number of pressures. I wrote about this earlier this week. I think Kyron Drones has faced 107 pressures.
Yep, something like
as
that.
quarterback, and that is the most of anybody in college football at any level, which kind of tells you how what the strategy has been of other teams. And it doesn't say how they're getting those pressures. Maybe they're just rushing forward, win that whole thing. I don't think you have to bring the house all the time, but Wake Forest brought the house quite a bit and was successful in that and forced some mistakes that turned the tide of that game. I have to feel like the tape is out on the Hokies, and this is the way that you stress this offense. You put Drones under duress. He's not a great passer under duress. He's not a great passer, period, but you put him under duress, it's going to be even worse. People watch film. They pick up these tendencies. That's how they adjust things.
I would like to see Tech roll him out more and change his launch point so you can't just tee off on one spot. I was watching the Georgia Tech game with somebody, and right before the game I said, I really wish they'd roll Drones out more. And then the first play, they rolled him to the right and completed a pass.
Yes.
And so I think I might track the number of times there's a designed rollout in this game. Not a scramble rollout, but just where it's the design play.
Yeah, Chris, you mentioned some of the stronger secondary members. Are there any other individuals on this defense to watch out for on Friday?
Luke Forelli's been a good freshman linebacker for him. He can be inconsistent against the run, but he's a pretty good player. Again, their strength of their defense is on the outside. They're not quite as strong up the middle. They've got another linebacker,
Uluwave.
Yeah.
He was the preseason guy that everybody was talking about.
Everybody was talking about, but he's missed 14 tackles, which is an insanely high number for a linebacker. So they don't give up a lot of yards rushing, but if you dive into it a little bit more, they give up a decent amount of yards per carry. They're only 75th in the country in yards per carry allowed. So teams have been able to, run the football on them. And that's what Virginia Tech has to do. You can't pass on them. And Virginia Tech can't pass anyway. This is a run the dang ball man game if I've ever seen one.
It'd be nice to have a lead.
Yes.
Or be within arm's length. It feels like they've been behind so much in some of these games. Certainly against Georgia Tech, they were down by 3 touchdowns in the second half there. You have no choice but to throw the ball at that point. So if they can stay close or actually get a lead in one of these games, they can lean into the strength of their offense, which has been running the ball. They've run it pretty well. And the stats look great. Everybody's like, well, why don't you run the ball more? It's like, you're down by 14 in the second half. You don't have all day. You got to throw the ball eventually. So I think game circumstances, if they can shift that around a little bit and actually, play ahead, that would help them quite a bit.
And meanwhile, we like to always mention when possible the all-name team contenders. Chris, there's a real strong one for Cal on the defensive line there.
Number 56, Legend Journey.
Middle name Airy. Legend Airy Journey.
Song of Pulatele is just poetic.
It is.
It just bounces off the tongue. Once you learn how to say it, you're like, it's like Uyunglele or Tagovailoa. It just flows. It feels great to say it.
Yeah. And lastly, in terms of individuals, does the special teams for Cal provide any spark for them this week?
DeJesus has been a really good punt returner his whole career. He's averaging, I think, 12 yards per return for his career across both schools, but he's never returned one for a touchdown. He's got to be one of the most consistent guys in the country at punt returning who hasn't had a touchdown.
Well,
I need some wood to knock on here.
The week. There's always a big play that seems like Virginia Tech gives up on special teams.
You're right. They've used 2 different kickers, one of which is questionable this week. They've used 3 different kickoff guys this year, and their 3 kickoff guys have only combined for 3 touchbacks. So there will be opportunities for Virginia Tech to return kickoffs in this game, although you would expect there not to be very many kickoffs in this game because you don't know. I don't think either team's going to score that much. But
how is it possible to have 3 different kickoff guys? Nobody
nobody. Yeah,
just kicking the ball far seems like accuracy would seem like the problem, but kicking it far it seems like you can find somebody like that.
They've only combined for 3. I think they're both averaging like 50. They're averaging like 56 yards per boot.
Need to find a Kyle Lowe out there.
I mean, I think as Virginia Tech fans, we're probably a little bit spoiled for watching the kickers here over the years because Tech has had a lot of great field goal kickers and a lot of guys who could boom it through the end zone too. But apparently that's not. I mean, across the board in college.
Once you've seen Joey Sly walk out there like flexing his biceps, you're like, power kickers have been spoiled at Virginia Tech forever. Like he's put it through the back of the end zone.
Occasionally, Joey Sly would get bored and not kick it out of the end zone, but that's just because he wanted to go down the field and make the tackle.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, there's still plenty to talk about in terms of the X factors in this game and picks and other internet sweeping stuff later in this podcast. But first, Will, you got some great numbers for what this game looks like, courtesy of Scott Glesner.
Yes, Stat Time with Scott Glesner, and I like this one. We're gonna go down the rabbit hole on some things. So first of all, Stat Time with Scott Glesner is presented by Tech Solutions, who also has the naming rights to the studio. Tech Solutions, located in Arlington, Virginia, provides specialized CETA, engineering, and financial and advisory services to the DoD and intelligence community. A Washington Post top workplace winner in 2024 and 2025, they are always looking for talented and motivated individuals to join their team. Visit techsolutionsva.com to learn more, and that's TECsolutionsva.com to learn more. Now, so Cal will be the farthest west team to visit Virginia Tech in Blacksburg. That distinction is previously held by Oklahoma State, who visited the Hokies in 1972. And this is when I went down the rabbit hole. So in that 1972 game, Virginia Tech won 34-32, but it's very interesting how that game played out. The Hokies won on a field goal with 12 seconds left. But so first of all, I've got this book here. It's called Hokie Games by Rich Tandler. Rich sent this to me. Gosh, it's been a long time ago. I'm not sure when he wrote it. And Rich has since sadly passed away, but he was a sports writer, and he put together this book that recaps every football game from 1945 to 2006. So sounds like Rich wrote it and following the 2006 season. So I dug up the recap of that 1972 game against Oklahoma State, and I'll just read it to you. After missing one field goal attempt and having another one blocked in the previous minute and a half of play, the Virginia Tech kicker booted an 18-yard field goal with 12 seconds left to lift the Hokies over Oklahoma State 34-32.
So Tech had 3 field goal attempts in a minute and a half?
Yes.
Wow.
And the field goal kicker was a guy named Dave Strock, who is the older brother of the famous Don Strock quarterback. So with about, Rich doesn't say exactly how much time was left, but with about a minute and a half to go, Strock's miss came from 22 yards out, but an offsides penalty against the Cowboys gave him another shot. Oklahoma State blocked that try and recovered it at their 2-yard line. Trying to get out of the hole, the Cowboys handed off to fullback George Palmer, who fumbled after being swarmed over. So Virginia Tech recovered the ball at the 1, ran the clock out, and kicked the field goal to win.
So one of those field goal attempts doesn't officially count.
Which one?
The one that were offsides.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Oh man, I was gonna say if they had all 3 been official tries, that would have to be the first time in college football history that a team had 3 field goal attempts in a minute and a half.
Pretty crazy. So those of you out there who are not familiar with the 1972 Virginia Tech Hokies, they went 6-4 that year. Their coach was Charlie Coffey. Don Strock was the quarterback, and I remember Strock. Virginia Tech they passed a lot back then, which was unusual in college football.
That would have killed me.
This is a 10-game schedule, and Strock threw for 3,243 yards, so he averaged 324 yards passing a game. 16 touchdowns, 27 interceptions.
They would have absolutely, and they went 6-4.
Yes, and the comedy in this game is he threw 3 interceptions in like the first quarter or something like that. And my dad used to say he was convinced that Strock was colorblind, that he would say, my dad was like, he wouldn't just throw interceptions, he'd throw it right to defenders.
That was like a lot of those quarterbacks back in the day, though. Like Like they didn't frown upon interceptions
No.
like today. They're just like, we're going to chuck it a lot, and if we happen to catch some of these, that's fine.
And that's a guy who made a career in the NFL. Is Dan Marino's backup.
Yeah, and before then, he was the backup to
Greasy.
Greasy. Yeah, yeah. And I will not go down that tunnel. So listen to some of the names that were on that 1972 Virginia Tech team: Bruce Arians, J.B. Barber. Who's J.B. Barber?
Tiki and Rondé's
Tiki and
dad.
Rondé's
Tiki and
father.
Rondé's dad from Roanoke.
Bruce used to like babysit them when they were small, I believe. Story that I did a long time ago.
Mike Burnip was on that team.
How many catches did Mike have that game?
It does not say. It doesn't have
no box
detailed
score.
stats.
The still true holder of Virginia Tech's tight end records.
Absolutely.
Because I will state that
question.
Bucky Hodges was a wide receiver.
No question about that.
Who fell down after every catch. Bill Ellenbogen. Tell us who Bill Ellenbogen is.
He used to be the owner of Bogan's in Blacksburg, which is now 622.
That is correct. Bill.
Where
had-
all the coaching candidates go to eat dinner with
Yeah, just to be seen in
representatives
public.
of Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So people of my era and other eras definitely remember Bogan's Restaurant, and Bill was drafted by the Bills, I believe, and played a couple of years in the NFL as well. And then, of course, other names that were on that team are Don Strock and Dave Strock, and Dave was the older brother of Don. So that was quite the team. Now that segues into looking at this book. So we're done talking about the 1972 Oklahoma State game. Who knew you'd wind up talking about that? If Virginia Tech were to lose to Cal, if Virginia Tech loses to Cal, the Hokies will be winless in October. It'll be the 9th time that has happened where Virginia Tech lost all of their October games. The Hokies, I'm not going to name all 9 years, but the Hokies lost all their October games in 1948, 1949, 1950, 1951, and 1952.
Oh, wow. Yeah, not so great post-World War II.
2 years later, Virginia Tech in 1954 went undefeated, 8-0-1, which is really remarkable.
It's just a sign that things can turn on a dime.
On a dime, as long as you hire Frank Mosley as
that
your coach.
Kurt Signetti's grandfather or something like that.
So they went 0-4 in October 1952, 0-4 in October in 1987, 0-4 in 2022.
But so what about 92? One of their 2 wins was in October?
Yes.
Wow.
Apparently, let's see. Wow. Now we got to look that up. Andy, can you look up
I'll look it up.
the
You keep
92
going.
season? All right. Let's see. So sorry, I didn't really organize myself ahead of time, so I'm just going to go down the list.
92 team won its opener. James Madison.
Wow.
That would be September, though.
Yep. Oh, September. No, they tied in October.
Oh,
tied
right.
NC State 13-13.
Yep. And
So it's still winless.
right.
NC State was ranked like 13th in the country, I think. They were
21st in the country.
I'm remembering the 13th from the. So what I remember about that game is I took the GMATs that day. So I'm sitting in a classroom at Virginia Tech taking the graduate school admissions tests. Ran across campus, went to the game, and that game was tied when NC State kicked a last-second field goal that was partially blocked and hit the crossbar and bounced over.
Nice.
Other than that, Frank would have had a win against a ranked team that year. Again, that team was very tough. They just didn't know how to win games. So let's see. Virginia Tech is – so this is a Friday game. Virginia Tech is 1-6 in their last 7 Friday games, which includes the Mayo Bowl against Minnesota last year.
The win was one of those UVA games. No? Really?
2021 UNC opener was on a Friday night.
I remember that as a Monday.
According to Nick says it was a Friday, and according to Scott Glesner,
Yeah.
So I never would have guessed that. Would you have been able to come up with that if I grilled you guys?
No, probably not.
Yeah.
I would have thought it was one of those post-Thanksgiving games against
Yeah.
UVA.
Yeah, exactly. So let me see if I can organize this a little bit better verbally than what Scott's got us on the page. Virginia Tech is 1-9 in their last 10 games against teams starting with the letter C. 1-9. Now, I will not
Clemson, quite a few of those.
get to that in a second. The only win in that stretch was a 2014 win versus Cincinnati in the Military Bowl. It dates back to 2011. The 9 losses were comprised of 7 to Clemson and 2 to Cincinnati, which is interesting stuff. Now, the 11 games before that, from 1998 to 2010, the Hokies were 10-1 against teams that started with the letter C. And again, the time span was 1998 to 2010, so of course the loss was in 2003 to California in the Insight Bowl. So let's segue into discussing that wonderful game. That 2003 Insight Bowl, what was the name? 52-49 was the final score. Yep. Virginia Tech scored 21 points in the first quarter of that game. It's only the third time ever that Tech scored 21 points in the first quarter and lost. The other 2 games were 1978 against Tulsa. I would not expect you to know that one. 1992 against Rutgers, which is a famous stab in the heart game. The Hokies scored 28 points in the first quarter and lost 50-49 on a last-second pass. Cal also converted 13 of 17 on third down. So Aaron Rodgers was a pretty good quarterback. Now, Scott's only got third down stats dating back to 1985. That is the second highest percentage by a Virginia Tech opponent in his database. The highest percentage, and I remember this game, Boston College in 1993 converted 10 of 12 third downs.
That's the one where Al Mashin told Beamer after the game, "You should probably fire me because I had a terrible game plan."
He told him in the middle of the game.
In the middle of the game. That's right.
It's like, I've got a terrible game plan, and we're not executing it for yes. Yeah. So it's like, if you want to fire me, fire me. I deserve it. He's an honest man, Phil Amazian.
Yes, he is.
Do either one of you remember the name of the Boston College quarterback who architected that?
Was it Glenn Foley?
Glenn Foley.
Glenn Foley.
Yeah.
Didn't Foley throw for like almost 500 yards or something insane like that?
Up a few weeks ago, I think.
Yeah,
we did talk about that.
Yeah. So in that 2003 game, Brian Randall threw for 398 yards, the 4th most in Virginia Tech school history. Virginia Tech is 1-2-1 in those 4 games.
You know who had 4 catches for a touchdown in that game? 4 catches, 1 touchdown.
Willis. Oh, 4 catches, 1 touchdown?
Yeah.
D'Angelo Hall.
No.
Didn't he play some offense?
Marcus Vick.
Marcus Vick.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
Caught a deep ball down the left sideline for a touchdown.
That whole game was like the reason Bud changed his defensive philosophy, right?
Yeah, one of them. I think most of that 03 season.
That whole season.
That's part of it, yeah.
Right, but that was like slap you across the face when
Right.
he dices you up like that and goes, "We can't have 3 linebackers on the field all the time."
Right.
So Virginia Tech is 1-2-1 in the 4 games where a quarterback has thrown for 398 or more yards. So going back to that 72 season against Houston, Don Strock threw for 527 yards, and the Hokies, well, actually 1973, Strock threw for 527 yards, which I think is still the school record. Do you know off the top of your head, Andy?
It sounds like it's right.
I think it is.
Unless it was Randall in that Syracuse game where he threw for 500, didn't he?
Oh, he threw for 504. Yeah, so Strock still holds the record.
And Virginia Tech almost always loses when they set passing records. All the more reason to run the ball, man.
There you go.
You know?
I know. So that game was a 27-27 tie. Randall threw for 504 against Syracuse in 2002, and the Hokies, of course, lost that game in triple overtime. The only win, encyclopedias, do you know the only win?
The only win when they threw for how many?
398 plus yards.
I'm going to go that Pittsburgh game where
Very nice. Very nice.
300-yard
receivers,
receivers,
including
Gerard Evans,
wide receiver Bucky Hodges.
Yeah, the 2016 39-36 win at Pitt, Gerard Evans threw for 406 yards. That was one of the most thrilling games I've ever seen. That game had it all. And I remember the Tech Sideline message boards just about blew up that night.
Well, Narduzzi's reaction alone on the sideline, like refusing to change his defense and then complaining all night about offensive pass interference. And they're getting away with everything. Like, that would set off the message boards for the whole night.
Oh, yeah. And I think Fu walked up and down the sideline. Fuente walked up and down the sideline at one point and said, "They're not going to stop what they're doing. We're not going to stop what we're doing. Yeah. Just go out and win the game."
Tech fans hate Narduzzi because of that night, because of yelling at the refs. I've actually heard he's a really, really nice guy from people.
I've chatted briefly with him. He's a nice guy. Yeah. So let's see. I believe I've read all of them, guys. That is Stat Time with Scott Glesner, presented by Tech Solutions.
So I have a trivia. So that 2003 Insight Bowl, everybody remembers Aaron Rodgers. Who was their running back? He was a really good player who went to the NFL.
Is that before Marshawn Lynch?
Yes.
No clue.
I'm blanking.
Adam Chinobi Echimandu.
I couldn't pronounce that even if I wanted to try. So
Classic.
I can't
Cal.
pronounce most names, but for whatever reason, I got his, and I've remembered him forever.
Well, we're going to have more about this edition of the game picks for the contest and a couple of pieces of news after a message from one of our sponsors at Tech Sideline.
This episode of the Tech Sideline podcast is brought to you by RichWeb, your local provider of top-tier IT managed services. For 30 years, RichWeb has offered a comprehensive suite of cutting-edge solutions tailored to empower businesses of all sizes in today's digital age. From top-tier network engineering services, ensuring seamless connectivity and security, to our exceptional managed endpoint and cloud services, providing proactive maintenance and strategic optimization, we're dedicated to delivering excellence at every turn. RichWeb, driving enterprise IT. Visit richweb.com to learn more. RichWeb has proudly hosted TechSideline.com for over 2 decades.
All right, so it's almost time to predict the game, but quick, a few more other elements. Will mentioned it in those stats that Cal is the farthest traveling team to play Virginia Tech. When teams from California joined the ACC, a lot was made of this whole travel schedule. Could that really affect the game, or is it maybe overblown in how much that plays a part?
I mean, I don't think it's easy, but at this point, Cal has done it. Like I think it would probably make the most difference in the first year when you haven't done it yet. But now that you're in the second year of going to the East Coast a decent number of times, then it probably doesn't bother you quite as much. They did win at Boston College. Not that that says a lot. I think Boston College is the worst team in the ACC. So they have gone to the East Coast and won this year.
maybe it's more of a big deal if they're playing like a noon start. The body clock thing, you always
Yeah.
hear that in the NFL. I mean, they're playing at night. I mean, you get on a plane everywhere you're going now for covering, playing games in the conference, unless it's one of the North Carolina schools. They might even fly down to North Carolina. I can't remember what they do if they bus for something like that or not. But I don't know. Getting on a plane is getting on a plane. Like once you're on there, just kind of chill for a while and you'll be fine once you get off.
Meanwhile, Virginia Tech had the open week, a little extra time for rest. Are there any takeaways from the availability report we know of this week of who's going to be healthy?
They look healthier than they have been. Like Cam Selden was probable, Terry and Stewart probable, Thomas Williams was probable. I was a little surprised by that after the way that he went down in that Georgia Tech game. Jaden Keller still questionable right now. If that means more snaps for Noah Chambers, I don't think a lot of Hokies fans mind. They want to see him out there on the field. Still missing somebody like Montavious Cunningham, who, I don't know if that offensive line's ever going to be full strength this year. And, that's an issue. It's not a deep group. But, compared to the last time they played, I mean, they had 21, 22 guys listed as out eventually in that game. This is a little bit better than what that was.
All right, so we've laid the table for what this matchup looks like, and now let's answer the big question. Who is going to win this game, starting with Chris?
I actually wrote out two answers and had to pick one at the end, right? I did pick Virginia Tech 23-20. I think for either team to win, it has to be a low-scoring, low 20s type of game with the offensive struggles that both teams are having. I think Cal's the way they run their offense is beneficial to Virginia Tech. And ultimately, I'm seeing 3 field goals from John Love, and that'll be the difference.
Yeah, I picked Cal 24-23. This one feels like a coin flip game to me more than a 5.5 point line. That seems excessive to me. And if it's a coin flip game, I'd flip the coin, 50-50 chance there. I've been trying to catch up. Every time I think Virginia Tech's good, they're bad, and bad, they're good. And I've been wrong all season. So maybe try to get ahead of thinking that they'll be good this week by saying they'll lose this week. I don't know. That's what I went with. Cal by 1 point.
I think it's going to come down to the running game. Cal's not a good running football team. They only average about 95 yards a game. I'm digging Terrion Stewart being listed as probable on the availability report. So I've got the Hokies winning 24-17, and the fans, 282 votes in, have Virginia Tech winning by 1-10 at 48%. But the next biggest group is 33% thinks Cal will win a close game, to your point that it feels like a toss-up.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Nick and David, it sounded like there's some similarity, perhaps, in the selection.
Sorry, I didn't expect you to send it over to me. Yeah, we both have 19-17 Virginia Tech beating Cal. I don't know if that's, 4 field goals and a touchdown?
Yes.
Is that math? Yeah. Or 2 touchdowns, a field goal, and a safety. That
2
could happen too.
touchdowns, 2-point conversions, and a field goal.
So that'll be interesting to watch. Now, with the Golden Bears coming to town, it's not just the team that has made an impact so far this week. The internet is being swept by what is known as the Calgorithm. So, Nick, you have some of the most entertaining posts we've seen this week involving the Calgorithm.
Yeah, let me go ahead and pull them up. I assembled some of my favorites here, so I can get rid of that.
So the background here is that the Calgorithm refers to how clever their fans are on social media.
That is correct. So we're going to start it off here simple.
We're gonna just very simple. They're eating a
First
family
of all,
dinner.
if you're listening, this is going to mean nothing to you. You should be watching this on YouTube.
Or just switch over on Spotify to
What's the
video
mascot's
too.
name again?
Oski.
Oski. That's right.
Oskies.
Now Nick makes a good point that he uploads the videos now to Spotify.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you can see that.
Why does Oski's eye have like laser?
Oh, that's a common theme.
It's like a thing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
They make Oski have laser vision. So I simply posted the game week. I like to highlight a different player each week, and I said, I'll do Nick Valsistis because I haven't done a special teams player yet.
The punter.
And,
It is sending a certain message when you put the punter on the game.
It's a great picture. It never would have been used by us again. So I was like, sure, let's use it. And it's been memed quite hard. So at first here I was told by Tim Sands himself, actually, if you take Tim Sands actually tweeted right at me.
Virginia Tech and Berkeley. Oh, that is hilarious.
Tim Sands himself, you'll see him again. But this one was quite good. I thought this one was really clever. This is Calgary.
What am I looking at?
It's from the 300. Yeah. He said this is Sparta. I don't even know how he thought about that. That's just
funny.
To take this and make it that is just quite clever. Of course, this one also. The Cal fans also think that we are the official Virginia Tech football account, so they're like tagging Sickos at committee and all that, and be like, "Look at Virginia Tech!" I'm like,
Mike the hot dog mayor.
Yeah. There's Tim Sands. There he is himself. Yeah.
Skilled at Photoshop
That
like
is some
I am.
good photoshopping right there.
Triple Cal Bear as well. How about that?
Have infiltrated our university.
My favorite part of all the Cal fans thinking that Tim Sands is beloved by the Virginia Tech faithful.
I was going to say not so much.
The Cal fans are put this out there, and Virginia Tech fans are like, we agree on some level about this.
Yeah, take him back. Yeah. This one was good. Happy Wokesgiving. They feed into
Wokey bird.
They feed into being woke very well. Yeah. So the Wokey bird was quite funny. ITT Tech. That one got me going. Yeah. Tim Sands once again, clever man.
He's
Tim Sands is
productive.
great.
That's what happens when you get 3 degrees from Berkeley.
It is.
This is a good one. They were making fun of Virginia Tech and UVA having very similar orange
Oh,
uniforms.
that's funny.
Oh, wow.
A couple Tech fans were comparing them to West Virginia. They do look very similar if you
They
put
do,
West Virginia and Cal.
actually.
This one's just generic, but it is good. So yeah, everybody's saying you're the worst 5-2 team. Yes,
That's a great line.
as Captain Jack Sparrow once said. I've heard of me though. This one's good. So of course they very well renowned university for being smart, and they of course are making fun of Virginia Tech for founding VTech, the old preschool laptop.
I remember those.
Whatever. But obviously Virginia Tech never invented that. But to connect those dots is good. Shrinkflation has really hit the Hokie Bird hard. The Gobbler,
that's funny.
over the years, and then the last one. This one's just good. Oski gave the Hokie Bird too much pre-workout.
Oh man!
And, of course, a couple
Are
of
we
them.
talking about the gut sticking up there? What are we talking about?
A couple of them also said that he actually couldn't lift that much weight. I'm like, you're very smart for
Really?
Yes,
Yeah.
I never would have expected the Hokie Bird to lift.
Are those the weights that got stolen during COVID?
Oh, must be it.
I think the lesson is don't tiptoe into a trolling battle with the Calgorithm.
No,
They're pretty good.
They were raised on these streets within the Twitter streets here. Like, I've seen some of the stuff that people at Virginia Tech have come back with. I'm like, come on now. This is like amateurs versus pros here. This is embarrassing sometimes.
No, Tex fans are good after a win in basketball.
Yes.
When they just go on the other team's official site and just light it up. Yeah.
Well, great stuff, Nick. That was awesome to see all of those wonderful selections. And as we get towards the end of this podcast, there were a couple of brand new information news today on some other sports besides football that we do want to talk about here. Starting with, in the wrestling world, Caleb Henson is going to redshirt this season, which maybe means they're going to load up on the future with Bo Bass and other future commits.
That's what it sounds like. We're going to redshirt him and go all in for the future. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Always be redshirting.
They redshirted Mackay one year,
They
right?
did, but that was
like
that was an
Olympic training.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Then COVID hit.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And also for Virginia Tech women's basketball program legend Liz Kitley is coming back to serve as assistant to the head coach and help with some of the operations with the program.
That's exciting. It's exciting.
Snagged her before Kentucky could, so that's smart.
Oh, man. I had the same thought.
That's smart.
Yeah,
I mean,
ouch.
you know, when the
Take it, Kenny
best player
Brooks.
in Virginia Tech history, she should be associated with Virginia Tech. So that's smart of them to get on that.
Yeah. With all that being said, what is coming up at techsideline.com?
You have a
Game
mailbag?
coverage. Yeah, I've got a mailbag coming today.
Right. I'm not doing a Q&A tomorrow because it's a Friday game. So except for Andy's mailbag, I think we're probably pretty much done with content this week.
That's all you
Pretty-
need the rest of this week is
Yeah,
my mailbag.
Tailgating. That's what's
Tailgating,
coming
that's
up.
what's coming up. Yeah.
So everything you need to know is on techsideline.com. Meanwhile, Nick, what do we have on the audio video schedule for videos that already came out and what's coming up next?
Yeah, so we've got, of course, Talking with Teal. We discussed Shane Beamer. What else did we talk about? James Franklin?
Yeah,
Andy?
Bob Chesney.
Bob Chesney. A couple
People are
other
like,
good
why
stuff.
aren't you talking more about Bob Chesney? I'm like, we talked about Bob Chesney.
Just
in
did a
the
whole podcast
man. Come on.
And then, of course, Cody did his the press conference breakdown with Philip Montgomery, and Cody Wagner will also be coming in tomorrow to interview a very special guest, and we're very excited for it. And that will be in the morning. I think I'm actually going to hold off and post that on Saturday, just to not interrupt the game day. But it's a timeless interview for this year, so I'm not too worried about dropping it on Saturday and it not getting enough views. And it'll also reach much further than just Virginia Tech.
So, Nick, have you noticed that the Talking with Teal videos are pulling better numbers than the podcast videos?
Are they really?
I have.
They are.
Teal draws a crowd, man.
Yeah. We need to get him a new camera and a new mic.
The fans also just get angry at anything that opens his mouth. They just
That's true. You get some engagement.
they think he's a UVA homer, which I think is hysterical.
People always like to tune into
It's a
things.
JMU homer if he's anything.
Clearly,
Come on, he's
yeah.
a JMU grad.
People are going to tune into things they feel are controversial, even if it's not.
Yeah.
So
And to be fair, he has been talking about coaching candidates and things like that, which are going to draw more than
right.
previewing an upcoming game with Cal or
Right.
reviewing a loss to Georgia
We
Tech.
really do need to do like a clickbait podcast. Your jaw will hit the floor when you hear about who the Tech Sideline crew talked about on the podcast today.
Well, we got everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, do that with that as well. We got everything you need on the YouTube channel as well on that side. So make sure to stay tuned for all of that. Well, thank you so much for watching episode 446 of the Tech Sideline podcast. If you haven't already, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the show with a friend. For Chris Coleman, Will Stewart, Andy Bitter, and Nick Brown behind the scenes, I'm Riley Klaus saying so long for now.